Hello, I'd like to welcome you all today. The subject today is about our paths and how to light our path. I've written about this in one of my books, but I'm just going to recap it quickly because unless you know about it, this might not make as much sense. I believe we have 4 paths. The paths are there for us for our learning, and we come in and we will be on one path normally for most of our life. We can change paths, but mostly we'll be on one. The first path is what you call number 1, and this is the path that new souls come in on. So people who haven't been to Earth very often will often be on the first path. It's usually very practical. Your life's very practical. You're probably not very spiritual or activating it in this life, even though you might still have the gift from other realms. It's about learning to live down here and fit in, and it's about doing normal things, normal human things. It's a very human life. There'll be involved all the human things that we do, shopping and drinking and smoking and taking drugs maybe. It's a life where it can be that kind of life and a bit risk-taking because we're new here and we're exploring. Or it can also be that first time we're down here and we're just living in families and enjoying being in a family unit and going to work and having barbecues. It's just not a life where we're doing much work on ourselves spiritually because we're actually learning how to live in the human world, and that's the first life. Then there are the next 2 paths, the second and the third. And the second is similar, but you've stepped up a little bit. If you're on the second path, you've been here a few times, you're starting to understand how the whole system works. You understand how to live down here and do your work. And you might have a dabbling of interest now in not so much the spiritual, but more about the environment and about nature. You're more connected to the energetic parts of the world. Perhaps you're starting to take a little bit more care of yourself, which leads you then into the second one. And often people are on the second and third. They're very close, I felt. And then the third path, if you're on that one, you're actually getting really interested in doing well and doing good work and maybe doing more service work. It isn't just all about you. You're actually looking out. Instead of the first 1 or 2 lines, a little bit like looking in. This is more looking out. You might want to be venturing into doing charity work. You're starting maybe to look at some of the alternative medicines, and whereas in number 1 life, the first path, you'll probably be more Western medicine. By about the third path, you'll be looking at acupuncture and shiatsu and vibrational medicine, and just being more open to it. And these 2 lives slide in and out quite a lot, second and third, because they're very similar. The fourth path is probably the one that you people are on. This, I would say, is the hardest path. The first 3 are relatively easy. They're not super taxing. The fourth one is attainment, spiritual growth, personal growth, setting up lots of situations in which you can learn from, but it's actually the hardest path. The others are like walking along on the plains, and then second and third is a little hilly. Fourth one, you're just climbing the mountain. So if you're doing the fourth one, you would have set up a lot of challenges for yourself before you came down. This path is the most challenging, and sometimes if it gets too hard, we'll actually slip back to the third one, go back into normal life for a while, because this is like too hard, and take a rest. People often do that. They slide back in for a while, sometimes for a few months, sometimes decades, and then they come back up and do the challenges. I find the fourth path the most interesting. I wouldn't want it probably any other way, but having said that, it can also be really much harder, because you're working on big issues now around yourself, your family, your karma, your growth. You are also probably spiritually advancing, and this can be a great thing, but then you know more. So psychically you will be more open. Your psychic eye, your third eye is probably quite open by now, fifth and maybe up to the eighth, and I'll do a podcast on the different eyes. The challenges are greater on a personal level, but mostly they're greater on a psychic and a spiritual level. So you would have set yourself some pretty big mountains to climb. The reason it's hard is because you're human and you're also soul. So your soul's wanting to do it, but your human's like, oh God, this is too much. And that's when we'll often slip to the third. It's not a bad thing to slip to the third path, because that gives us a little bit of a breather, and then we can recharge and come back in. So never see it negatively. It also has a lot to do with who you're with. So if you are with people who are on the other path and you're on path 4, life can be easy in some ways because you look and you can see everything, but also more difficult because you're with them and you want to be connecting to them, so you have to dumb it down a little bit. It's unusual for us not to meet people like ourselves on path 4. They're usually presented to us, and that will make our life better. I've got my little gang of psychic friends, and I've always had that actually, and when one moved out, another one always came in. I've had the mainstay ones and then people coming in and out. People who do the spiritual work will often opt not to do it as well. I've known some incredible gifted psychics who were just born that way, who are on the 4th path but then decided they didn't want to do it. The 4th path is usually all about service work too, and all the modalities will be around love, forgiveness, compassion, kindness. It hasn't got a lot to do with control and power, whereas the other paths do. So we're trying to move away from that, and we're also trying to release a lot more. People on path 1, 2 and 3 aren't necessarily releasing much from their aura or doing work on themselves. They'll be doing personal work, but it won't be at the same spiritual level you'll be, and I'll be trying to do it. Try to find people who are on path 4. You'll probably actually know who they are around you. It's a feeling that we have with people, and it's a strong feeling. Find out when we have these people around us, it's actually easier to live down here. They're usually in parallel with us as well. Perhaps we're working on similar issues or similar emotions. We might also be trying to increase our vibration. So when we speak, we're actually speaking like path 4 people to path 4 people. It's not an elitist thing, it's just what you've come to do. Other people will do this. They will just do it at different times to you. And it's fine, because we're all on these different paths. I found once I saw the paths and understood it was actually a lot easier. And I could actually not fall down into their path, but I could actually just be superhuman in with people on path 1 and never bring up what I actually do. And as I got closer to path 3, maybe I'd drop a few things, say a few things about what I actually do. But on path 4, I could just speak quite openly and truthfully. We'll be struggling with similar things on path 4. We'll actually be looking around going, why did they do that? Why would you say that? Why did they make those choices? So it's actually an interesting path in that there's sort of a non-understanding of why people would act in certain ways from a spiritual and soul point of view, but on a human point of view, we understand completely. And of course, we've been there too. We started at path 4, the 1, beg your pardon, and have worked our way to path 4. The last little bit of this that I want to speak about is that sometimes we'll get very lost. I felt really lost sometimes. I haven't really lost my faith, but I felt lost. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be going. Nothing's happening. I don't know what to do. And I was shown to light my path. So what I did was I did a visual where I saw the best path for me, on path 4 of course, but the best path for my highest good. And I lit it, like I put light on the road ahead, like I white lighted the whole road. Then I actually put candles down the sides, and I lighted the path, because I will always follow where the light goes on a soul level. So my human might be going crazy, not knowing what they're doing, but the soul will be like, it's just over there, Wendy, just go where the light is. So I lit my path, and I still do that practice, and I light it. It just helps me to keep going in the best way that I can keep going. If you know people around you who are struggling and lost, you can actually light their path for their greatest good. I've done that for people. I've lit the path. They always have the choice to go down it or not, but on path 4 you'll tend to want to go down it. It just helps you at that in-between time when you don't really know what you're doing and what you're supposed to do, and you've got, oh, sorry about that, and you've got the gift, but you don't know where the gift's going. So I think it's good for you to practice, use that practice. I found that practice very helpful for me. I just kept doing it, and then I kind of got a little bit more clarity around a few things, and it was better for me. So light your path. You can light it every day, or you can just light it when you feel like you're getting a bit lost. We know on a soul level what we're supposed to do, but down here on the human level, it can get confusing. I found it confusing at times. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. For example, I've got all these books on my computer and I haven't been able to get them out. And then I just woke up and just knew to do the podcast. So I'm getting them out, vehicle that works for now, and later I'll probably get my books out. But at least now I have some direction. And I actually felt good once I got some direction with that. Because we are here to do our work, then we want to do the work. Embrace yourself and the path you've chosen and understand where you're at. And also understand that when you're with other people, after a while you're going to know which path they're on. And that's going to make it much easier to relate to one another and for them to relate to you. Keep well, keep healthy, keep happy, and keep filling yourself up with light. And do light your paths. It will make a very big difference. And now I'm going to send you love and light. Goodbye.